Okay, so I decided to pick B.F. Skinner. I picked him because I just really liked his theories and I liked his background and I felt like I just like related more to him. And I just like agreed with what he was mostly all about. Okay, I first want to start out with some quotes. I picked these 4 quotes because they were my favorite. And the first one, he talks about how education basically what survives when everything has been forgotten. That is so true, especially in today's world. I feel like education is like key. Education is extremely important and it gets you far. The second one, the consequences of an action affects the probability of its occurring again. That is so true, and that's basically what he's all about, is like reinforcement, consequences. So I feel like that one really showed like what he's all about. The second one, I really, really like this one. Society attacks early when the individual is helpless. That is so true, especially in today's world. Society is not that nice. So I feel like the reason why I liked this one, because it kind of related to now, and he said this like way back then, so that's why I really like it. For the fourth one, I cannot express how much I love this saying, because I'm a person that is, I believe is like whatever is meant to be will be. So this quote, just like I fell in love with him more when I like read this quote. I did not direct my life. I didn't design it. I never made decisions. Things always came up and made them for me. That's what life is, which I 100% agree. And he was all about determination, and I kind of am too, but in a little different way than him. I feel like whatever's meant to be will be. It's determined to be. You can plan out your whole life, but, some things are just not meant to be and some things are meant to be for you. Okay, for this slide, I called it Skinner's Cup of Tea. It's just basically, everything that he studied, or basically what his theories is all about. I didn't want to go and make each one of his, thoughts and theories into a slide, because I didn't want it to, kind of like look like the professor. So I just kind of made it into like a summary and, basically just what his tea is. So I'm going to start from the bottom up. Determination. He was mostly about determination, no free will. It's like whatever was determined in your life to be, you were to be. He definitely was not determined to be a writer. He was determined to be a psychologist, and he later on, realized that. So I think that's where his determination came from, because he tried to be a writer. It did not work. So he was definitely determined to be an author, a professor, a psychologist, and study the behavior. Environment is key. He wanted to make that really important. One of the quotes I believe I have is, the environment is key. Which I believe 100%. If you want to become a better person, you have to surround yourself in a positive environment, and you have to surround yourself in an environment that people are doing, kind of what you're doing. It's just like a motivation. I think that's what he was trying to, say. He studied with rats and pigeons. The Skinner box was with the rats. The rats would press on a lever and they would receive a little treat. He was the founder of radical behavior. He focuses on his actions and the consequences, and that's kind of what his theory is, the operant conditioning. The theory was basically a behavior is determined solely by its consequences, or the reinforcement or the punishments. Basically kind of like the Skinner box. So if the rat pressed on the lever, it would receive a treat. That was his, positive reinforcement. If it didn't press on the lever, it was negative reinforcement. He did not get a treat. And then 3 operants is neutral, reinforcers, and punishment. Neutral is just like responses from your environment, how it affects you. Basically, going back to environment is key. That's what he was trying to, make with that theory. Reinforcers, that's the responders that increase the likelihood of a person's repetition. So that's kind of like basically the positive of it. If you do something, you get a reward, you're going to obviously keep doing it or keep up that behavior. The punishers, that decreases the likelihood of behaviors repeating. So, like, for example, if I did not study for a test and I get an F, I'm like, oh, so that's kind of like negative reinforcement. Like, I don't ever want that behavior to become again, so, I definitely need to change it. So Skinner was mostly just for the study of causes of actions and its consequences, which is, basically operant conditioning, the negative and positive reinforcement, which I personally, this is why I kind of liked him, because I liked how he had a theory that you basically learn from, like 1 or 2, like, the positive and negative reinforcement, and then like also too, when you're growing up, your environment, and then sometimes you meet someone that has a completely different environment from you, and you guys notice how you guys have differences or similarities, and that's why I kind of picked him, because I just loved how this theory is like a lifelong theory, and how he presented it with the pigeons and the rats, like he did it in these cool experiments. Okay, this slide is called Vibing with Skinner. I made this little funny slide just because I just wanted to show his little personality a little more. So Skinner is a Pisces. Pisces are like really like kind of like down to earth. They're very creative, which I felt like I had to put that in because Skinner is known to be very superstitious. He's known to think outside the box. And he taught pigeons how to play ping pong. Like, who can do that? Like, honestly, like when I read that about him, I was like, yeah, this man, he is definitely a genius. To have the patience and the time to like teach a pigeon how to do that, it just mind blew me. So he was known to be like radical and creative and visionary. Like he had a vision and he just went and did it. He was determined, and he was wicked smart. I mean, obviously he did all these like cool inventions. So, and he was an inventor, obviously. But some would say he was like very closed off, but extroverted, which I get that, because I feel like sometimes too I'm closed off, but also like the people that I know and I want to be around, I'm like super like outgoing around them. And it kind of made me wonder, like, he was closed off, but it did say that he only had like one woman for the rest of his life, which is like so sweet. This one I kind of joke around with. I say he's the Kanye West of his time, minus the mental illnesses. But when I read that he was an inventor and he was a visionary and he was radical and he was like kind of weird but superstitious, and it just reminded me of Kanye West, because that's how he is. He always has this vision. He's determined to make things happen. So, I don't know, they just kind of remind me of each other, just slightly. Another thing, Skinner said that he had identity crisis at 22, which I literally can so relate to, because I just turned 22, and I feel like, at 22, it's like, okay, I'm 22, I'm kind of getting up there, so it's like, what do I want to do with my life? Like, this is where Skinner said, like, this is where you figure out, like, are you going to be something or are you not? And like, back in his day, at 22, you kind of had to have it all by then. Like, you were married with 3 kids, you had your career job, but now in times it's like 22 is like the new 18. So, but still, like, at 22, it was a reality check, like, okay, like, I need to finish school, I need to figure out what I want to do in life. So when I read that, I, like, just related more to him, because he was struggling with, like, do I want to be a writer, or do I just want to become an inventor? He was just, like, struggling, and I honestly relate to that. Okay, for this slide, it's just personality facts about Skinner. He's from Scranton, Pennsylvania. If you know, you know. He was inspired by Pavlov and Watson, for his, like, his theories and his inventions. He felt like a failure at 22, which I can relate. At 22, it said that he moved back in with his parents to be a writer. Like, he went upstairs in the attic, kind of closed himself off, and just started writing, and then he kind of realized, like, this is not for me, and then, he was like, whatever's meant to be will be. He just realized that writing was not for me, and then he realized more he just wanted to be a psychologist and study on behavior. But later in life, at like age 40, he felt depressed because he failed at writing, which I didn't really understand because, at 40, he basically did everything, and he became an inventor, and he wrote a book, and he got a PhD, and he was a real psychologist. So, but, I think that still kind of hurted him because, he failed at something in life. So I can understand that. He graduated at Harvard with a PhD, which obviously if you go to Harvard, you have to be extremely disciplined and smart and well put together. In 3 years. Let's just put that out there. 3 years. When I read that he was closed off, I didn't take that as like a negative thing, because when you're truly serious about your life and about education, you kind of have to be like that. You kind of have to put your social life on hold to get where you want to be, and obviously he did that. Like, he got a PhD in 3 years. Like, I don't know, that still is mind-blowing to me. So after that, he became a professor, a scientist, a psychologist, an inventor, and an author. Like, he's kind of like a 5-in-1. Like, this is why I really like this man. Like, he truly put himself first to make himself better for the world and society and for his family. So I respect the hell out of him for that. He was very open-minded in his studies, extroverted, kind of like dorky. I read that he was like dorky but neurotic. And neurotic in a way, like, not with like friends or family, but in his work. He was real neurotic. Like, that's what I also like about him. Like, he was so passionate about his work that he became kind of like a different person, and I love that. This didn't shock me at all. He was known to like lack liveliness. Like, he was like, kind of be strained social action, which is understandable because, his whole life is about education and work and studies and projects. So I completely get that, how he was like that. You're not really social when you're that busy in life, so I get that. And that's one of the reasons why I like him so much, is because I'm trying to be like that. I'm trying to be more dedicated to education than my social life, so I took him as an inspiration for that. So, and then just another little fun fact, he was a girl dad, which I thought is super sweet and cute. He had 2 girls growing up. One of the daughters I read said that he was just an amazing dad. Like, he was very present. He did a lot of stuff with them. He taught them about science and all that. And I believe, like, his daughters are, like, they did go to, they do have, like, PhDs and all that, so they're just like him. Yeah, but this is basically the things that I wanted to discuss about his personality.